Здравствуйте, дорогие ребята! Дистанционная образовательная программа «Обо всем на английском» Центра «Радость» – это замечательная возможность совместить приятное с полезным, послушать прекрасные музыкальные произведения, отправиться в путешествие по страницам истории отечественной и мировой культуры и одновременно попрактиковаться в восприятии английской речи. Хорошо, если в ходе занятий вы будете повторять как знакомые, так и новые для вас английские слова, фразы и выражения. Занятия скомпонованы так, что для этого у вас будут все возможности. Премьеры видеозанятий будут проходить по воскресеньям раз в 2 недели, но смотреть их можно в любое удобное время. Главное, не забывайте каждый раз регистрироваться в анкетах Яндекс.Формы, ссылки на которые найдете в описании каждого ролика. Занятия программы «Обо всем на английском» разделены на циклы. По итогам каждого цикла вам будет предложено потренироваться в прохождении тестирования, проверить знания новых английских слов, терминов, выражений, ответить на вопросы на английском языке. Тестирование можно проходить трижды для достижения наилучшего результата. Пройдя тесты всех модулей программы, в конце учебного года вы получите итоговый сертификат Judge of Art, что значит ценитель, знаток искусства. Итак, дорогие друзья, настройтесь на восприятие английской лексики и приготовьтесь к нашему новому увлекательному путешествию. Auntie Owl's Dictionary.
Prodigy. Quartet. Repertoire.
Song cycle.
Miller.
Wander.
Miniature. Applause.
Hello, dear friends. My name is Auntie Owl. I've been living in this world for many years, and most of all, I like telling different fairy tales and stories. Every story has its beginning and its end, no interruptions in the middle. Today, we are going on a musical journey, and we are going to meet an amazing composer, and beautiful music will follow us on this journey. Let's start. Guys, this music is exciting and romantic. We have heard the famous serenade by the composer Franz Schubert. This composer is one of the first representatives of Romanticism in music. His music has a strong effect on our emotions. Schubert said, "I'm in the world only for the purpose of composing." And indeed, Schubert wrote more than 1,000 works, despite the fact that the composer lived a short and not very happy life. But first things first. We go to Vienna of the 19th century. Vienna is Europe's most beautiful and the most musical city in the world. It is unique and magical. It has a great history and a great culture. Old places remind us of an ancient history. Beethoven played here in Vienna. Haydn stayed here in Vienna. And Haydn's Creation of the World was performed for the first time here in the old university. Franz Schubert was born on the 31st of January in 1797 in the suburb of Vienna, and he was quickly identified as a child prodigy. He created many masterpieces, both vocal and instrumental. He is the greatest world genius of the first quarter of the 19th century. Franz's father worked as a teacher and was an amateur musician. There were many children in the Schubert family, but unfortunately, many of them died at an early age. The family was musical. Amateur musicians gathered on holidays. Father taught little Franz to play the violin, and his older brother helped him learn to play the piano. Soon, the boy became a member of his family's string quartet. He also had a beautiful voice. His father discovered his son's early gift for music, and at the age of 11, Franz became a pupil at the Imperial College. Franz was a very gifted student. He played the piano, violin, and organ. His teachers said he was taught by God. We have nothing to teach him. He started composing at the age of 13. In 1812, Schubert's voice broke. He left the college, but continued his studies privately with Antonio Salieri for at least 3 years. During this time, he entered a teacher's training college in Vienna and in the autumn of 1814 became an assistant in his father's school. Schubert worked as a schoolmaster for the next 4 years, but he also continued composing music. Schubert composed every day, and when one piece was done, he started another melody. The life of the great composer was hard. He was always in need and did not even have a piano to play his compositions. Schubert wrote, "My compositions sprang from my sorrows. Those that give the world the greatest delight were born of my deepest griefs." Schubert's music is touching, lyrical, and seems to speak to almost each listener. But what is it? Can you hear? Somebody is approaching us. Who rides so late through the night and wind? It is the father with his child. He has the boy in his arms. He holds him safely. He keeps him warm. That's the elf king. He wants to take the boy to his wood kingdom. Franz Schubert's ballet, The Elf King, is a masterpiece of chamber vocal music. This work is one of the greatest works ever composed in this genre. World-famous vocalists have this composition in their repertoires. The composer wrote this ballad when he was still very young, at the age of 19. Schubert's compositions are melodic and harmonic, although The composer wrote symphonies, operas, and masses. Schubert became famous mainly for his piano and vocal works. He wrote more than 600 vocal works. One day, Franz Schubert visited his friend, poet Müller. The friends often gathered with other young poets and musicians to play music together. The poet Wilhelm Müller went out of the room for a moment, leaving the book with his compositions on the table. Franz Schubert started looking through it, then, in excitement, took it from the table and ran away. The poet entered the room and got confused. There was no friend, no book, and Franz ran back to his room, excitedly repeating, "The Miller life is movement, in motion." That's how one of his poems began. Under the influence of Müller's poems, Schubert imagined a story that he could never tell in a single romance. Thus, the song cycle, a group of individually complete songs designed to be performed in a sequence as a unit. The Fair Maid of the Mill was created. A young miller wanders around the world. He is full of joy and happiness. Oh, a miracle! He meets a beautiful girl, the miller's daughter. He is happy. He falls in love with her. But the girl doesn't love him. The young man suffers and sets out on a journey. The brook becomes his only friend. Franz Schubert liked the fair maid of the mill because when he was young, he loved the girl whose father didn't want her daughter to marry an unknown and poor musician. It is an interesting fact that some compositions from this cycle were performed during the composer's lifetime, whereas the whole cycle was performed 30 years after Schubert had written it. Anyone who loves music can never be quite unhappy, the composer said. Romantic composers saw life as a series of sad and happy moments. Today, they feel sad and depressed, but tomorrow there will be a new day, and life will be bright and sunny. That may be why romantic composers often wrote small works, so-called miniatures. Franz Schubert also wrote amazing masterpieces in the genre of piano miniatures. He even had pieces called musical moments. They may be brief, but they are rich in character and display Schubert's many moods. The composer Franz Schubert lived only 31 years. The fate of this great musician is amazing. The year when he gave his only public concert, which was a great success, was his last. In 1828, Schubert arranged the evening in memory of the great composer Beethoven. It was the only time in his life when he performed his music dedicated to Beethoven, his idol, in a huge hall for an audience. It was the first time he heard applause. The audience cheered, shouting, "A new Beethoven was born." The music of great Franz Schubert can be heard everywhere, at ceremonies, philharmonic concerts, at student examinations, in films, and on television. Dear friends, what did you imagine listening to the music of a great composer? Take a paintbrush, faulty pens, or pencils and create your images of beautiful music by Franz Schubert. Well, dear friends, I'm sure you will listen to the beautiful music of Franz Schubert again and again. It's time to say goodbye. See you later, your Auntie Owl.